All right, part 4 on Neil Degrass Tyson, Asteroid 2029, Dark Speak brought to light.
On April 13th, in the year 2029,
April 13th is a code 420 day for, I believe, something big on 4/20/24. We might get that.
Orbit.
We might get that space sky event or whatever.
Away from the 2036 date. It has a 7-year intersection orbit with Earth. On that date, April 13th, which, by the way, is a Friday. April 13th, 2029, this asteroid, named Apophis, named for the Egyptian god of death and darkness. Named, of course, only after we calculated its trajectory to intersect Earth.
Now, the 2029 is tied to Trump's twin 9/11 and him coming back and all those things, okay? So the 2029 is actually tied to a closer date in 2025 for that election or whatever. The 2 and 5 equals 7 plus the 2 on the front side, that's the 9, okay? So these things are tying to, the asteroid is tied to the 2024-2025 election and Trump and all those things. So these people are giving out different live plays for them to follow on the script, okay?
We're not going to hit Earth. We could have named it like Bambi or Tiffany, something non-threatening.
The Tiffany is, that's the T for Trump, if fan, knee for the New York and stuff. That's the tying in the twin 9/11 to get that stoked up. Also, Tiffany is tied to the Antifa for Tiffany Trump, the lawyer. And it's tied to my wife, Tiffany. And it's tied to the Bam B. The Bam B is tied to the Bibi Netanyahu for the Bam on the war. All right? And then you have the Hamas, which is the May on the Bam.
Freddie, something that it's not hurting anybody.
Whatever.
Name that one Apophis. So
the Apophis, the paw for the AI pause and that hand of God and those types of things, the Trump hand. And he's the Don, the mafioso. And you have the time of famine now with Ivanka and Donald Trump taking the stand, or Donald Trump Jr. taking the stand, and those types of things.
We know for certain that Apophis on Friday the 13th, April 2029, it's the size of the Rose Bowl. It'll get close enough to Earth that it will dip below Earth's communication.
So this could be on 4/20/24 when we see something in the sky or whatever, okay?
Satellites. It'll be the biggest, closest thing ever known to come near Earth.
He said the 2-2 come, so that's the 22 on 9/11. All right, that's now till next year in 2024.
The communication satellites are a geosynchronous orbit. It's about 23,000 miles up. This will come in at 18,000 miles. It'll be visible.
The 18 ties us to that 18th hole that Trump's for that live golf game.
Northern Europe.
Oh, and also that's connecting us to Biden being 81 on 11/20 this year, and then Elvis turns 89 on 1/8 this year, and also he turns 90 next year, which ties us into the America Burned next year, and then the Wild West and Time of the Wilderness for the 40 years after that, which is the 4 Trump years and those things.
Geek Set has already rented the hotel rooms there, so you're out of luck, because they did the math and they knew when and where it was going to happen. It'll look like just a fast-moving, bright object across the night sky.
They did the math and knows
moving
when
at
it's coming.
about what speed do I give it? Probably around 10 miles per second. That's hauling. That's fast. So here's the catch.
Once you see what's in these 2 heavy-duty totes, you'll feel safer when the next disaster rolls around, because
its orbit remains sufficiently uncertain Let me back up.
uncertain.
In the
That's
possible
the
range of orbits it
uncertain,
could
to where
have
you can have the UN
on that fateful
to where you can have the UN come into the United States or whatever and take over because everybody has been infected with that biowarfare or whatever. We got the FEMA camp set up for all you beasts that need to be put behind cages and all this other shit. You like the Bell worship, you like the prison, you like the cages for men, so y'all go put your fucking selves in those, okay? Because you need to go back to the old law to where you either spanked in public, you give them that humiliation for that human aspect, or you have your hand chopped off, or whatever, okay? But you don't do anything by locking up non-violent offenders, which is 75, 80% of these people, and locking them up into a cage. I mean, wicked-ass people.
day.
And that's the church who supports this shit generally. Dude, the church is the Baal worship. They're the ones under the law. They worship Satan. They're the ones who's going to be rising up and killing people in the name of freedom that they don't support because they're under the law. And the law says man has to be this and woman has to be this, and they're brought under the division. When who's the man who wears the pants in the family? It could be a male or a female. They're all made after he, them. They're all made after he, them. We are all those King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Man doesn't rule woman. Woman doesn't rule man.
Interval range where if it threads that keyhole, we call it a keyhole. It's a 600 mile, about 600 mile, several hundred mile.
Keyhole is multiple things. Chase Bank in Dallas, Texas has a keyhole in the building. That's a great building for a plane just to ram into. We'll see. But the keyhole is tied to Abaddon, and he has the keys to the pit and multiple things. And the keyhole is also the Florida Keys down there where Eve, the Everglade, and the serpent, and De Satan and all that shit live. So we could see a divide between the Mississippi per se, the Mississippi and East Coast. That could be like the satanic country of Eve or Eden, and then you could have the land of Nod, where you'd have from the continental divide per se or from 35, I should be better, 35 the plains to Mississippi River. That would be the land of Nod. And then you'd have the high country where the new United States is going to be forming and such. But because with the new technology or whatever, we can now go into the mountains and build into the mountains without destroying the mountains or whatever. All right? And that's what all this land, the federal lands or whatever, it's all been preserved for the next age of the United States. All right? And the West Coast and all that. So, yes, West Coast might get some restructuring damage from the dams being broke or whatever, but this is just part of having to reset Earth and get the rivers flowing, so to redo things, because we're going to be living with nature, with technology, and it's going to be like a perfect blend of 50% technology, 50% man, 50% nature, and we're all going to be living in harmony.
Range. If its orbit goes through that range, Earth's gravity will be just right.
Just right.
Or rather, just wrong.
Just wrong.
So that
it'll be just
it
wrong.
will alter it.
It'll be just wrong, guys, because Trump went to jail or Trump got assassinated or whatever. Because I expect Donald Trump Jr. to come in and say that line like, I'm my dad or I'm Donald Trump, and where the son can be the father or whatever, and that's part of the dark Trump and all those things.
Orbit so that it will hit us 7 years
Or
later.
the dark sun.
So
it can hit 7 years later.
Test is it going to go through the keyhole? The latest estimates.
Is that what he said?
It will alter its orbit so that it will hit us 7 years later.
Yeah. 7 years later.
So the test is it going to go through the keyhole? The latest estimates are that the likelihood with updated data is that the
Estimate.
likelihood that it'll go through the keyhole.
The estimate is the S is the 19, the AI, and 2 the mate for the climate change. And the climb is the limb, the C limb, and that C limb is tied to the tree that connects the dragon that is to come and is not, which is tied to the 666 and the 999, the old heaven, the new heaven, blah, blah, blah.
Is several in a million. Much better for us than the 30.
It's better for the sever of the million. Okay, that's the millennium. They need the millennium beast to go down into wherever. Okay, they can't have the millennial beast going into the future per se.
And first estimate, or the 1 in 42,000 estimate that had been around for a couple of years. So you say, oh, not a problem. There are people who bet on the lottery.
Not a problem. So they need to not that problem. Okay, and that's for a weekend.
Worse odds than that, expecting that they're.
And those knots are for the lures to fish men, because you gotta tie the lure on to the string and get them close. Okay.
A win. Would you put $10 trillion in harm's way? Actually, if any insurance people here, I know there's got to be. You just do the math, right? $10 trillion divided by the probability.
He said 10 trillion on the 922 mark and then again on the 932 mark. Okay, so these are connecting from 2029 to 2032, and it's also connecting from the 23 on 9/11 to the 2029 for the trill line, because the those are people born after the millennium generation, which would be the Gen Z and whatever else they got going on there.
Of it hitting, spread that among the total population of the West Coast, and you have an insurance policy. That's how that works, right? That's how you calculate insurance policies. Oh, by the way,
the West Coast is talking about the earthquake, which is the earquake. Okay. And then the West Coast is also tied to the little t on the back side with the AI, and the E is the 5225, and then the I forgot what word we were doing. There's so much information. I can make this big. I can make all the. I can go through
you have an insurance policy
and get very detailed.
That's how that works, right? That's how you calculate insurance policies. Oh.
The calculate insurance policies. So they're trying to figure out how many men will do what with what. All right. So they need so many to be slaughtered in different ways, and they'll do that with the foreheads and however else.
Way. I think I saw Steve Soda here, my colleague. Steve Soda, we've collaborated on all the exhibits here in the Rose Center 10 years ago on our anniversary. Steve, could you remind me who of the famous astronomers of the past actually invented actuarial tables?
All right, so the bomb. Let's get into a bomb real quick, because he's talking about he's talked about how the bomb will wake up people, and this is a more subtle process where we won't have people waking up, and we can have a financial bomb, and that's coming or whatever. That's an easy one with the currencies and such, and that's plenty to make people go into that wrath mode, okay? But a bomb can only affect so much of an area, okay? Even if you hit Florida and it causes that tsunami in the Gulf of Mexico, or they do a sub in the Gulf of Mexico, or however, you can get that tsunami effect on the shorelines. Or if you bomb the internal area, if you bomb a certain area in the sandy loam, you might get 1,000 miles max or whatever of impact. But who's left over is going to wake up. Okay, so the point is they don't want people to wake up. So this is where you get that punishment. A lot of these things are going to be happening in a pun in different ways, because this is for the eyes and ears, to gather the eyes and ears to let them know what's going on. Okay, so the whole plan is just to flip that switch for that day and hour of that day that's coming, all right? And we're going to end it here.